Chatting to me today is Kirsten Oliver, who is a very senior person in the offshore business of Worley. And she's going to chat a little bit about her career, how you got there, and what is essentially, I think, still a man's preserve, but maybe that's all changed now and you can tell us all about it. So Kirsten, over to you. Tell me about Worley, the company, and about your place in it and your career.
Hi, thanks, Ross. Yeah, I'm Kirsten Oliver, or Dr. Kirsten Oliver. Which was,
I'm terribly sorry.
For some people,
I've given you your full title.
Yeah, I'm Vice President for the Worley offshore energy business here in the UK, Nordic, Central Asia, and Eastern Europe region. And the offshore energy business for Worley covers both conventional and new energy. So we talk about electrons and molecules. Electrons being electricity generated from offshore, particularly from offshore turbines. And molecules in terms of the hydrocarbon business, but also in terms of carbon dioxide for re-injection into reservoirs and hydrogen as a fuel source of the future. So the team that I manage, we work out of a number of UK and regional offices, including our Aberdeen operations, which is where I am today, sat in our Aberdeen office. But we deliver projects for clients globally across all aspects of offshore, as I said, from wellhead to export and turbine to onshore. So a really exciting time to be involved in the energy transition and helping helping our clients on their sustainability journeys, but also helping us as a global economy meet our net zero targets.
So how did you get to this elevated position in your career?
By chance, to be honest, Ros, seizing opportunities, taking those opportunities and being optimistic and chasing opportunities. So I originally did my PhD, my degree in PhD in materials, which is really kind of understanding how materials behave in different environments. We transfer that to how people behave in different environments, and it's all about what's around us and how we adapt to the environment that we're in. So yeah, I started my career in the water industry, then moved into the power industry, and then into a very niche consultancy. And from there, I've really set out my stall of setting up and growing businesses, whether they be here in the UK or in the Middle East for a range of companies, from small limited companies to UK PLCs. So quite a journey, that has been a bit of a roller coaster along the way, but certainly something that's really been quite exciting.
And what have been some of the high points along the way for you? What comes to mind?
So the high points, I think, is seeing where you bring people on the journey with you. You know, when you go through any change in an organisation, there's always that uncertainty and there's that roller coaster of emotions that go with it. And I think we probably all experienced that through COVID. And the change that we adapted to through COVID was quite transformational. Within Worley, we brought 4 parts of the business together at the beginning of the pandemic. And doing that remotely with 4 different groups of people that I'm absolutely convinced if we put them all in a room together, we would have not have achieved what we ended up with, of everybody being a face behind the screen. Has really then kind of set the tone for how we work going forward as distributed teams. It doesn't matter whether you're sat in Australia or India or the UK or Kazakhstan or Turkey, we all bring together an element of something that we can help make a project work, make a relationship work. And getting to make those work in a distributed world is really quite a high point, but it's had some low points along the way, as I'm sure you can imagine.
So is travel then a thing of the past, or will you have to take to the skies and get to these remote locations?
I think it's not a thing of the past, but it's less prevalent than it was. I think we still need that personal contact to build those relationships in the first place. I think that makes life far easier for us. But I think once those relationships are built, communicating in the virtual environment becomes much easier. So I think you can bring people together virtually, but it takes different skills, takes more time, and certainly a longer process than if you can bring people together in real life and start to understand that body language as well as the verbal sense. So, and cameras always on is something now that is the norm in our part of the business.
So, what's your biggest learning throughout all of this? Because you've moved sectors quite dramatically. What's been the biggest learning across these sectors?
I think coming from the background that I've come from a technical background, the sector thing really hasn't been been an issue. I think it's, you know, it's a material that behaves differently in a different environment. There's people that behave differently in different environments. But the biggest learning for me has come from my personal life. I think everything that we do to try and create an inclusive workforce begins at home. And I'm married, I've got a teenage daughter, and we've got a dog, and my husband and I have swapped our careers since we met 20 odd years ago. And enabling us to do that and have that inclusive environment at home, where he's the one at the school gate picking our daughter up in the Middle East environment. He is definitely in a minority, kind of counteracts me being in a minority in some of the work environments that I've been in. So that gender equality side of things has always been there at home. And that to me is irrespective of sector, irrespective of working. We can start to install that in the home environment, then it really becomes possible in the work environment as well. And you create that truly inclusive culture, irrespective of culture, irrespective of gender. So I guess the sector thing is a bit of a sideline for me. It's more about how you create that inclusive environment, irrespective of whether you've worked in the water industry, the gas industry, the offshore oil and gas. You know, it's all about those different opinions and how we push boundaries and think differently.
So tell us more about that. Was that an interesting negotiation at home to put all of that in place?
No, not at all, really. It was something's got to give, and he put his hand up. He's an absolute rock in terms of helping me develop my career. And he's also a really good cook. So I do feel very much like a kept woman at home, which is fantastic. But equally, it just means that it works for us. We both came from very traditional families. So, you know, probably some of the biggest critics for family of the way that we've lived our life, but it absolutely works for us. And it's great. So he's there at home, and he works part-time. But however, you know, the flip side of that, Ross, is, you know, whenever we go out for dinner anywhere and we meet new couples, they always ask him first, what does he do? You know, there's still that stereotype there of, you know, it must be him that goes out to work every day.
And what's his answer?
Well, he's got a really cool job though, Ross. That's where we struggle a little bit, because he works part-time, and it's a really interesting role that he's got. So yeah, I think he shares what he does, and then somebody says, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh, so you've got the proper job then.
So what's his part-time job? What does he do part-time?
Part-time job. He works as a sensory assessor, which has a fantastic punchline if he smells for a living. So he's been trained by a company that make yeast for breweries to smell off smells, and they have a contract with the European Commission to look at additives in tobacco. So they train them all up to smell additives in a dilute solution, and then that transcribes. They then train them up in other things. So they do a lot of quality control work for a range of industries, whether it's brewing industry, whether it's tobacco, whether it's detergent, drinks, soft drinks, you know, smelling for things that shouldn't be in something. So a sniffer dog.
Sounds pretty important, equally important.
All I think for.
Yes.
Run a business.
Absolutely, wonderful. So are there any habits or routines that you do to kind of streamline your life so that you're free to work in the way that you do?
So habits, one of the habits that I have got into, and it's something that I'm still doing now, even though it was, you know, and it works, is taking a lunch break. You know, it's something that you go in the office and you run around like a headless chicken, and you get to the end of the day absolutely exhausted, and then you think, why have I not coped very well this afternoon? Well, I haven't eaten, I haven't had a break, I haven't been outside. So that's a habit that I've definitely got into, even if it's like, you know, 10-minute walk around the block, walking to a shop to get something to eat rather than going to the cafe in the building that I'm in. A really good habit that I absolutely love. The other habit that I've got into over the last couple of years, which again, people go, how do you do that? Because I am a bit of a curious person, is when I am off holiday, and when I'm on holiday, I delete all Microsoft apps on my phone, so that I completely switch off. That's a little bit of trust in everybody around you, but it's also a recognition that nobody's dispensable. You know, nobody's irreplaceable. So the world doesn't fall apart when you go away for a week, contrary to popular belief from some people.
Wonderful, fabulous. So is there anything, looking back on that sweep of a career, anything you would have done differently?
I don't think about that, Ross. I think, would I have done anything differently? If I had done things differently, I wouldn't be where I was now. So, you know, you come to a crossroads in anything that you do, and you make a decision, and you make that decision work, which is, it kind of speaks to one of my traits of being optimistic about things, I think. And you can always go back, you can always change your mind. We moved out to the Middle East as a family, and lived in Dubai, and I set up the upstream business for a major UK PLC. After 2 years of doing that, it was me that wanted to come home because I was homesick. So, you know, no decision is irreversible in terms of what you do. But what did I learn while I was out there? A phenomenal amount. Learned loads about culture and people. I learned about my own ability, and equally we learned a lot as a family of, you know, as I say, Kerry at the school gate, dropping Charlie off, and then taking her to the water park after work, after school, and me going and meeting them. What a life! But yeah, I was the one that was homesick, that missed the UK. So, but yeah, so never say never. And you know, decisions are there for you to make decisions, but everything can be changed. So yeah, do I regret anything? Absolutely not. No regrets.
Fantastic. So what does success mean to you now?
That's a really difficult thing for me to define now, I think, because I think, you know, success is enjoying what you do, is making the most of what you've got and making time for people. But it's also being rewarded, not necessarily financially, but being rewarded in, you know, do you feel at the end of every day or at the end of every month that you've achieved something? What have you done to move things forward? I think if you'd have asked my husband 6 months ago when I had the decision of, you know, what do I want to do? Do I want to continue to climb the career ladder, or do I want to say, well, okay, I'll get my golf handicap down and, you know, and spend a bit more time relaxing? I was there trying to deliberate that, and I think my husband knew exactly where I was going. So success is,
He knows you well.
It's me happy, me busy, and that makes him happy. So yeah, success. I don't think I'd turn around and say there's a one particular element of success, but if you wake up every day and you're happy and you enjoy what you're doing, then that's a success all around for me.
It's a good test. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you.